Okay, this is my review of the new Superman movie, the first movie in James Gunn's new DC cinematic universe. Now, going into watching this movie, I had two main concerns, and that was because of the trailers. And obviously a lot of concerns considering what happened with the Snyderverse and all. And the two concerns were the fact that in the trailers, Superman seemed a bit too emotional and, I don't know, a bit too like a normal person, I guess. And that's not exactly what we're expecting to see with Superman. I mean, Superman's supposed to be a strong, brave, and solid, if you know what I mean. And this trailer felt like Superman was more vulnerable and normal, and I didn't really like that. Not for Superman, at least. So that was the first concern I had with the trailer. And the second thing was basically the fact that Superman was getting beat up a lot in the movie. In the trailers scenes, we saw him get beat up a lot. Then I didn't like that either. I mean, Superman's supposed to be arguably one of the strongest characters in the DC universe, and him getting beat up that easily, no, that didn't sit right with me. So these were my concerns going to the movie. But when I get into the movie, honestly, one of these concerns were gone. And that's basically why Superman keeps getting beat up in this movie. And I'll get to that later. Now, what happens in the movie? Well, basically, in the beginning of the movie itself, we see Superman landing in the ice, all beaten up, just like we saw in the trailer. And I have another problem with that, because this is how you want to start the new DC universe? With your best character beaten up, unable to move, bloodied, on ice, and then a dog jumping up and down on him, hurting him, I mean screaming. Come on. That was not how you should start this movie. But again, if you look past that, the movie was interesting, at least. Now, in the beginning, we see a lot of lighting showing what happened, and Superman came to Earth 30 years ago, and he's been Superman for 3 years. And apparently metahumans have been around for 300 years. So there's no origin story in this movie. It's basically jumps into the universe. And we see Superman getting healed up after being beaten up and in the ice, and going out to fight a guy in a metal suit, which is being controlled by Lex. Now, and he ends up getting beaten again, which is honestly a problem, but it's not a problem when you realize why he got beaten up by this guy in the robot suit. So anyway, after that, we basically see Superman as Clark Kent for a little bit, and then him having an interview with Lois, where he talks about what's been going on recently, and how that there's a conflict going on between one really powerful country and another country that doesn't have any military strength, and the powerful countries are planning on invading them. And how Superman already intervened once, and he warned the president and kind of abused the president a little bit. And Lois is saying that that's not right, because he's from America, and so he's representing America, and he can't just go do what he wants in a foreign country. And Superman's arguing that he was just trying to stop a war and save everyone. He doesn't understand why this is such a big deal, which is an interesting prospect, considering that in this, usually in superhero movies, the public and the governments don't really have that much of a role in these movies, but in this movie apparently it does, which is okay, I guess, but that kind of limits what the DC superheroes will be able to do. I mean, this is kind of like what happened in Captain America Civil War, with the government wanting to control the Avengers. So I'm not sure going down this path would be the best for the universe in terms of character freedom. But anyway, so basically this is all a backstory of what happened earlier. Now, Lex wants to find the Superman's lair, and he basically managed to find it. He has this woman who basically made a nanobots because of some experiment, and she finds it, and later on Lexa and her and this other guy in the mask goes to find the lair and opens it and gets into the lair very easily. And then we see a distraction being laid out for Superman with a tiny monster that's been rolled out by Lex's men, who suddenly turns into a giant monster overnight. We don't see what happens, and we see Superman showing up to stop the monster, which we saw in the trailer. Now, where did that monster come from? Is it an alien, or did Lex make it or something? I don't know. We don't get an explanation for any of that. So basically, Superman's fighting the monster, and he's saving people. And this is honestly one of the best scenes in the movie, considering that this is where Superman does Superman things. And Superman doesn't want to actually hurt the monster, so he does end up getting beat a bit. And that's understandable. This is a huge monster, and Superman's trying not to be deadly. I mean, I'm sure if he wants to, he could probably rip right through the monster and kill it. But in the middle of this fight, the Justice Gang show up. It's basically Guy Gardner's Green Lantern, Hawkgirl, and Mr. Terrific. Now, I'll be honest, I don't know who these characters are. I know Hawkgirl from the animated Justice League series. But the other two, I don't know. I think I saw Mr. Terrific in one episode in the Flash series, but I'm not sure that was him. Maybe. So anyway, Mr. Terrific uses technology to fight, and Guy Gardner's Green Lantern, and Hawkgirl's basically, well, Hawkgirl. Now they all fight the monster too, and they end up killing the monster. And Superman says, "Why did they do that?" He wanted to save the monster and take it somewhere else where it couldn't harm anyone. It's just nice to see that Superman, this movie, has a really strong moral compass. I mean, especially considering the Snyder movies where he was a bit too dark. So this is a nice and refreshing. Now, right after the scene, we see that Lex Luthor managed to get the message that we all know from Superman's parents, Jor-El and his mother, about him coming to Earth. And they released the footage that shows that they wanted Superman to come to this planet to basically become its king or leader, to pass on the Kryptonian DNA, take as many wives and have as many children as possible, and to take out anyone who stands in his way, because he can, and he's more powerful than all of them. And everyone gets this message at the same time, because we live in a social media age in this universe now. So because of that, everyone all of a sudden turns on Superman, saying that he was planning this and he can't be trusted, and which is understandable in considering how powerful Superman is, and he is an alien. And Superman's in complete shock because this is the first time he's hearing this message, because the message was corrupted when he came here and he only heard half of it, saying that he has to do good things. And because of this, Superman becomes a bit emotional, and he runs off to his lair, and he finds out that Krypto's been captured. Oh yeah, there's the dog Krypto. I don't know why Krypto's in this movie. Apparently it's based on James Gunn's dog, and James Gunn really wanted to put it in the movie, but they really didn't need to put this dog in the movie. It's more of a menace than anything. And he doesn't listen to Superman. So anyway, he finds out that he's already emotional, and he finds out the dog's gone, and he knows Lex took it. And he goes to Lex's office and screams at him, asking where the dog is, which is something we see in a clip before the movie came out. And because of this, I actually understand why he was a bit emotional in this situation. I mean, he just found out that the basis of his existence was sort of a lie, and now he wants, he lost his dog too. And yeah, so that's understandable, but it's still a bit too much. So anyway, after this, Superman decides to turn himself in because apparently he wants people to regain their trust in him and to show everyone that he's actually good and not here to do what his parents sent him here to do. And unfortunately, he thinks he's turned himself to military, but apparently the military decided to give Lex authority of taking him. And that doesn't go well because Lex takes him to an interdimensional portal where Metamorpho is just sitting around, and he turns his body into kryptonite and weakens Superman, so Superman's completely vulnerable now. Really vulnerable. I mean, you almost see his face starting to burn, which is really new. And well, basically in this, and we see a bit of scenes in this dimension, and there's also a funny part where there's a bunch of monkeys there that are trained by Lex somehow, and they're writing trolls online, making fun of Superman, calling him super shit and all that, which is kind of funny if Superman didn't care about it so much, but apparently he does care about it, and okay, that's another problem. Why would Superman care about a bunch of online trolls? He's the most powerful being in the world. He's super strong, super fast, he can fly, he has X-ray vision. Should Superman really care about a bunch of online trolls? But anyway, we find out that they've been trolling Superman for Lex, which seems a little petty, honestly, but it's funny. And then we see that Superman, Metamorpho lets Superman go because Metamorpho wants to save his son who was being held hostage by Lex, and Superman ends up saving his son. And there's a big CGI scene inside the interdimensional portal where there's a river of dimensional energy, which honestly looks like a Lego movie scene to me, because it basically looks like a bunch of square blocks that Superman stuck inside. I mean, it felt like it was supposed to be a part of a Lego movie, the Lego Superman movie or something. So anyway, Superman fights the bad guys while protecting the kid, and they eventually get out with the help of Mr. Terrific and Lois. Yeah, in the middle of this, Lois went and got the help of, went to ask the Justice Gang for help, and Mr. Terrific decides to help them. Oh yeah, by the way, they all know Superman's identity, which, should they really know Superman's identity? Is that really safe? I mean, I don't know a lot of people who know his identity in the animated series, apart from the Justice League. And technically, I don't think he's part of this Justice Gang, so whatever. So anyway, Lois takes him to his home where he recovers, and the next day, we see that basically the two countries, the country, the strong military, is about to attack the weaker one, who can't even defend themselves. Now, I'm spacing out the names. I think I know the names, but I don't want to mess it up, so I'm not gonna say it. And so anyway, Superman goes and so basically the people in the small weaker country is desperate for some help, and all the news channels are showing that there's no one there to help them. Superman's not there, and basically what we see next is a situation where Lex opens an interdimensional portal again and forces a rip into Metropolis, basically to make sure that this war actually happens, and Superman can't go there to stop it because he has to go and save Metropolis. And then Lois finds out with the help of Jimmy Olsen that Lex's girlfriend actually sent him the details of why Lex was doing this. Basically, he wants to create he wants the country that's about to be invaded, he wants part of it to create his own technological utopia. And honestly, that's a bit refreshing. I mean, normally we see a villain who has a backstory about why he became this bad and why he went down this path, and it's meant to be somewhat relatable that we might end up like this if we were in this situation too. But in this movie, Lex Luthor's just a straight up bad guy. There's nothing going on underneath that's too complex. He just wants a part of a country to make his own country. And this is a way to do it. And Superman was standing in his way previously. So he needed to get rid of him. Which is why he released the video to destroy his credibility in the first place and to try and capture him. And also why he opens up a rip in the a dimensional rip through the city, which also seems like a giant Lego pieces stuck together between the city. So Superman's forced to go to Metropolis to stop it with Mr. Terrific, where he ends up fighting the other really strong guy in the mask, along with the lady that has those that's made of nanotech, and that guy seriously beating him up with her help too. And Superman's actually getting beat up a lot. And while at the same time, the other country's about to be invaded and there's no one to stop them. And yeah, so we see Superman fighting both of them with Mr. Terrific, and he managed to defeat the lady with the nanotech body. And then he's face to face with the other guy. And at the same time, we go back to the scene where the war's about to happen, and we see a child holding up a flag of Superman and calling out his name, and all of a sudden Guy Gardner shows up and says Superman couldn't make it or something, but he's here to help, along with Hawk Girl, and Metamorpho shows up suddenly. So basically the three of them about to fight the army, and Hawk Girl goes off and kills the leader of the country that was invading. That seems a bit extreme, but okay. We don't see him dying, but she basically throws him out of the sky, and he's about to land flat on the ground. So we can assume he's dead. And on the other side, Superman finds the other guy, and he finds him managed to rip his mask off, and it turns out that it's a clone of him made by Lex. That's basically what's happened. Superman, it's a Superman clone that was beating you up in the beginning in the robot suit. And that makes sense. I mean, there are a few people who can actually beat Superman in the DCU. And a clone Superman is acceptable. Now, I feel like it's honestly a waste showing a clone Superman in this movie, because this clone's mindless and it has to be controlled by Lex because it's not perfect or something. And that seems like a waste because we could really kept it for another movie. A Superman clone could have been a movie of its own. Or maybe a Superboy story or something. But anyway, Superman ends up fighting the clone. We see a bit of a CGI battle between the two of them inside the rift. Which is nice, considering that if they fought above the city, they would probably destroy the city, like in Man of Steel when Zod and Superman fought. So, and inside the rift, apparently their attacks don't do too much damage, for whatever reason. And the other Superman finally ends up getting sucked into another dimensional portal, and well, I don't think he dies, but he's basically gone. So the Superman's fight scene is basically over, and then we cut over to the war, and basically the war's over. The Justice Gang defeated the other army, and the people are celebrating, and everyone's happy. And basically that's it. The entire build-up didn't lead to anything that we actually saw. And this is where I feel like the movie missed out on a great opportunity. Now, this is the war between the two countries was basically what the beginning of the movie and the main story of the movie was about. Why Lex was doing this, and we didn't get to see Superman do anything. So we basically saw Superman fighting his clone for a while, and that didn't really feel all that satisfying. I felt like either the Justice Gang should have showed up to fight the clone, which they probably couldn't have because it's basically as strong as Superman, or Superman should have beat the clone and then headed over to the war and joined the Justice Gang, and they all fought together and beat the army. And we should have seen that happening, and that would have been really wholesome, complete moment for the movie. But we didn't get that, so basically the last scene of the movie felt like a serious letdown. Yeah, it's a letdown, and if that didn't happen, I felt like this movie would have been actually been really good, despite the emotional Superman, which I don't like. That wouldn't have been a problem because there weren't a lot of scenes that show that. Anyway, this was mostly action, but we didn't get to see that. And the movie's 2 hours and 10 minutes long. I mean, they could have added another 10 minutes of Superman showing up and fighting. It wouldn't have been that bit of a stretch, but they didn't do that. And that's a serious missed opportunity, because the movie kind of dialed down at the end before everything was over. It was action back throughout, and then it dialed down at the end, and that wasn't satisfying. And if it had happened similar to the way I said, I felt like the movie would have been awesome, and everyone would justify supporting this movie. Even the Snyder fans would have been forced to accept the movie, which I'm also a Snyder fan, but I'm not obsessed with it the way some people are. I'm willing to give this movie a chance. But yeah, so that's how the main story of the movie ends, and it ends with Superman back in his cave, and we see Supergirl suddenly showing up, and Krypto running to her, and basically Krypto was her dog, and he was just looking after him, and we see Krypto jumping up and down on her, and he says that this is why Krypto behaves like this, because Supergirl says so. And I guess that makes sense, but then again, why did they put Krypto in the movie? Couldn't they just kept her for the Supergirl movie? I mean, Krypto, I didn't really like Krypto in this movie, because he was an unruly wild dog that caused a lot of headaches for Superman. And I think we could have done it. Now, in Supergirl, it would have been interesting, but Superman, no. Now, that's what happens in the entire movie, and overall, the movie's just okay because of how the movie ended. And I still have a problem with the fact that Superman doesn't really seem that strong and steady and authoritative. He doesn't feel that way, and I felt Superman needs to feel that way, and the ending needed to be better. So overall, this is an okay movie, I guess. And then there's the costume, which honestly I didn't really have much time to notice because there was a lot of action, so I guess I can give that a pass. But yeah, that's what happens in the Superman movie, and it's honestly just okay.